A 4.9 metre crocodile was shot by rangers in a creek 4 kilometres away. Human remains were found in its stomach.
A Townsville man has been killed by one of Australia's deadliest snakes. He was trying to move the eastern brown away from young children at a childcare centre when it struck him several times.
She was hunted down like prey, corralled from the sand and into the sea by a pack of dingoes on her morning jog. Up to 4 animals surrounded the Brisbane woman before biting her dozens of times.
Hey guys, Jared here, and today we're looking at Australia's deadliest animal attacks. And we're only scraping the surface here. From snakes to crocs, sharks to spiders, and everything else that nightmares are made of, Australia has them all. Whether you're trying to avoid razor-sharp teeth, venom, or a hungry pack, you always need to be aware of your surroundings down under. Why didn't a diver know he was stung by a jellyfish until he nearly died? How did a husband sacrifice himself to save his wife from a saltwater crocodile? And what Australian bird has been compared to a modern-day velociraptor? First up, an animal that's jumpy and jacked.
Kangaroos don't make good pets. They are wild animals and they do need big spaces and mobs. They certainly can't be raised alone.
Kangaroos may look cute, but they can be deadly. 200 pounds of pure muscle, sharp claws, and a kicking force exceeding 800 psi makes these marsupials a serious risk if you piss them off. Something 77-year-old Peter Eads learned the hard way. Eads had an alpaca farm in Redmond, Australia, but the animal lover also had a kangaroo that he had raised since it was a baby, or a joey as they call it. Clearly, he thought the two had a special bond, but it seems the animal's instinct took over. We had the pleasure of sitting down and speaking with Josh Neille, a wildlife expert, content creator, and local Australian who rescues and rehabilitates sick and injured wildlife. And he knows a thing or two about roos.
Like honestly, if you're a male kangaroo, your only purpose in life is to get as big and as strong as you can so you can control your mob. So normally in a big mob of kangaroos, say it's like 200 strong, there'll be at least 6 of them that are over 6 foot tall and weigh more than, well, they'll be pushing 100 kilos.
Paramedics were called to Eads' farm after the kangaroo had attacked him. But when they arrived, it showed signs of aggression, leading to the police shooting the poor thing. By the time medics got to Eads, he had succumbed to his injuries. The reason for the attack was unclear, but what I can say for sure is that kangaroos are not meant to be kept in a backyard. And if you come across one in the wild, odds are it won't be alone. It's also pretty much guaranteed that there will be an alpha male protecting the mob. Keep your distance, and if you are attacked, try to get to the ground so you can't be kicked. Oftentimes, you'll see a kangaroo before you're in danger. The same can't be said about our next animal.
I woke up, my arm was, I don't know, burning pain throughout my arm. We didn't really know what to do, but then we pulled the sheets back and the spider was just crawling around.
Funnel web spiders are one of the most venomous spiders in the world. Found all across Australia, a single bite from one of these little nightmares can kill you in 15 minutes. Symptoms range from swelling and pain to significant changes in blood pressure, and of course death, which I guess we could say is an extreme symptom. For 19-year-old Ollie K, the burning in his arm was just the start of what was to come.
And the symptoms kind of started showing as we try to decide what to do. Like I started shaking, sweating a lot, and that's kind of when we decided, like, yeah, we need to go to the hospital.
Fortunately, Ollie's family was able to get him to the hospital within that critical 15 minutes, allowing the doctors to administer anti-venom before things turned deadly.
But it was probably like half an hour, my headache was gone, my nausea was gone, my lightheadedness was gone.
In most cases, as long as you receive anti-venom as soon as possible, you'll likely survive. But when you're in a remote location, your best option is to apply a pressurized bandage, stay calm, immobilize the bitten area, and call emergency services. And if you're living in or just visiting Australia, you may want to sleep with an eye open, because these creepy crawlers seem to like to cuddle.
Like spiders are one of those things where in Australia, a lot of them get in the house, so you'll be like laying in bed at night and something will crawl across your face and you'll just be praying like, I hope that's an earwig.
I don't think I'd ever hope an earwig was scurrying across my face, but if it means I'm not at the risk of dying, then by all means.
Now to continue clearing the yard, collecting moisture and sleeping in wood.
Of course, it's not just venomous spiders you need to worry about in Australia.
We have 5 species of snakes where I live locally within about a 500k radius, and every one of them, if you get bitten by it, you'll die. Like if you don't get medical treatment, you're gonna die. So we've got eastern brown snakes here. They're the second most deadly snake in the world.
Sadly, the story of 47-year-old Jeremy Brooks proves Josh's point of just how deadly the eastern brown snake's venom can be. At a childcare center in North Queensland, a brown snake was found slithering in the outdoor play area. Although he wasn't a licensed professional, Jeremy rushed over after a relative called him in desperation. With the children out of harm's way, he managed to bag the snake, but was bitten 3 times in the process.
Neurotoxic venom, they're gonna start to affect your muscles, your heart, every single organ.
Instead of going to the hospital, Jeremy went home and had his wife bandage the wound, a decision that proved to be fatal. Jeremy went into cardiac arrest and couldn't be saved. This is just one of several venomous snakes in Australia that can kill you. You have the most venomous snake in the world, the inland taipan, as well as coastal taipans, tiger snakes, and death adders, to name a few. Maybe this deserves its own episode? Let us know what you think in the comments below. All in all, if any snake bites you, it's a good idea to get to a hospital as soon as possible. Even if it's a dry bite, meaning little to no venom was injected, you can't be too careful. But it's not just animals on land you need to worry about. 3 different oceans surround Australia, and naturally, there are plenty of predators lurking in their waters.
Pain, I can feel it come round, down my arms, across my shoulders, and then it's that instant where it's hit my spine. It's almost like an explosion, like a firework. It's just...
While diving off the Great Barrier Reef, Tim Saxon had a box jellyfish graze his arm. He didn't feel anything, so he assumed it hadn't stung him. Little did Tim know, this wasn't an ordinary box jellyfish. It was an irukandji jellyfish, the culprit's responsible for irukandji syndrome, which can lead to muscle cramping, fluid in your lungs, and cardiac arrest. To make matters worse, there is no antivenom. Thankfully, symptoms can be managed until you recover. Now, a typical box jellyfish can grow up to 10 inches in diameter and have 10-foot-long tentacles. But irukandjis are teeny tiny, with some adults measuring only a cubic centimeter. But don't be fooled by their size, because it doesn't matter, as I like to say. Their thin hair-like tentacles can grow up to 3 feet long and pack a serious punch. Aside from being hard to see, you may not even know you've been stung until you start showing symptoms, such as a fluctuating heart rate, or worse, paralysis. This could take anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 hours. Thankfully, Tim was brought to a hospital and was hooked up to a magnesium-based IV drip, saving his life. When it comes to box jellyfish, on the other hand, they're believed to claim the lives of around 100 people annually worldwide. If you're stung by the common box jellyfish, you'll know immediately. The pain is unbearable, and you could experience difficulty breathing or even suffer cardiac arrest. Fortunately, there is an antivenom, but depending on how severe the sting is, you may only have a few minutes before you go into cardiac arrest. Before we move on to some of Australia's larger, more powerful sea creatures, make sure to like and subscribe so you know how to navigate the dangerous lands down under.
The wife of a man killed by a crocodile has today revealed one of his last acts was to save her life.
In August 2024, 40-year-old Dave Hogbin was on a camping trip with his family in far north Queensland. While walking, a riverbank collapsed beneath him, sending Dave tumbling into an area known as Crocodile Bend. Despite the name, crocodiles weren't known to feed in this particular area, as the steep riverbank made catching prey a difficult task. However, a local croc handler suggested that people throwing fish scraps nearby may have attracted Dave's killer. His wife, Jane, scrambled to pull him up. When he realized she was starting to slip into the river as well, he let go of her arm. Just seconds later, he was pulled under by a crocodile and was never seen again. The hunt for Dave concluded days later when authorities caught a 16-foot saltwater crocodile with human remains in its stomach, 2.5 miles from where he fell. And a decades-old law banning the hunting of crocodiles in the region has come at a price. Your best bet if being attacked is to aim for the eyes or the palatal valve in the mouth, which will likely cause them to release. If you're by any waters, say on a beach, stay away from the shore, as crocodiles are known to be quite sneaky. And trust me, you do not want to be caught in one of their signature death rolls. But it's not just crocodiles that beachgoers need to worry about.
Just the last 2 months, a sunbaking French backpacker has been bitten. A 10-year-old boy mauled and dragged into the water near his campsite, while an 8-year-old was nipped and scratched as his dad held him aloft.
I'm sure you've heard the classic phrase, "a dingo ate my baby." And, well, there's some truth to it. Back in 1980, on a family camping trip near Uluru-Katajuta Park, Lindy Chamberlain Creighton lost her 9-week-old baby, Azaria, when a dingo pulled her out of the tent.
The dingo took my baby!
The story didn't exactly land well with authorities, and both Azaria's parents were convicted of murder, but were exonerated over 30 years later, thanks to a coroner's report. Over the years, dingo attacks have increased, mostly due to tourists feeding and interacting with them. In 2022, there were only 5 reported high-risk incidents, whereas in 2023, that number spiked to 19 as of July. And it's not just the tourists who are affected, it's the locals as well. In 2023, 23-year-old Sarah Pete from Brisbane was out for a morning run on Orchid Beach on Gary Island when 3 dingoes attacked her. In an attempt to get away from the wild pack, she ran into the ocean, but the dogs followed. Thankfully, she was saved when 2 men helped fend off the dogs. However, they didn't walk away unscathed. Sarah was airlifted to the hospital with more than 30 lacerations to her limbs and torso, while one of the men had to be treated for a bite on his hand.
I think the most risky dingoes in Australia are the ones that are around build-up areas because they're so much use to people. Quite often there's dingo attacks. I think there's at least been like 2 or 3 in the last year, especially with little kids, because a little kid is so much smaller and they don't have that recognition. They're like, oh, puppy.
If a dingo is approaching you, act big and call for help if people are around. If it does attack, fight back and aim for its eyes or snout. Don't run, as that will trigger its chase instinct. In Sarah's case, running into the water could have made things much worse, as Australia is also known to be home to plenty of deadly sharks.
Well, it was our greatest fear and now it's a reality. Australian sharks have now been declared the world's deadliest. In 2020 alone, Australia recorded 18 shark attacks, 8 of which were fatal.
In these waters, you'll find great whites, bull sharks, and copper sharks, to name a few. All are known for attacking and killing unsuspecting humans. In February 2009, Paul de Gelder was an Australian Navy diver training in Sydney Harbour during a counter-terrorism drill. The area wasn't known to be frequented by sharks, with the last attack having occurred in the 90s. But that was about to change.
A 3-metre bull shark came up from underneath me and grabbed me by the hamstring. I'd basically just given up and accepted the fact that I was going to die.
It seemed like the end, until the shark ripped off pieces of Paul. He was now free, but bleeding profusely. All of this in just 8 seconds.
I came to the surface and just started swimming for all my life. And as I took my first strokes, I noticed that my hand was gone.
Fortunately for Paul, his Navy teammates saw what happened and quickly got him onto a boat where they performed first aid. This included one of them reaching into Paul's leg and pinching an artery to ensure he didn't bleed out. Thankfully, surgeons were able to save Paul's life. He has since learned to thrive with a prosthetic leg and arm. And he's been a regular guest star on Shark Week, promoting shark conservation and even swimming with them. If a shark is coming toward you, swim away while keeping an eye on it. If you are attacked, aiming for their eyes, snout, or gills is your best option. That's a lot easier said than done when you're being torn apart. Unfortunately, sharks aren't the only Australian animal capable of slicing through chunks of your flesh.
This guy uses a thick shield to protect himself during an attack.
So more like running at you and kicking you and jumping at you with those feet, and like a velociraptor, they're gonna shred you.
Considered one of the world's most dangerous birds, cassowaries have razor-sharp talons, just like their velociraptor ancestors. They can be found in the wet tropics of Australia, and sadly their population has dwindled due to habitat destruction. That hasn't stopped exotic pet owners from taking the birds out of their natural homes, only to discover how truly dangerous they can be.
A breeder of giant Australian birds called cassowaries was killed by one of his own flock.
Authorities say this rare flightless bird attacked 75-year-old Marvin Hajos.
In April 2019, Hajos accidentally fell into the bird's enclosure, and let's just say these things aren't meant to be pets. When they feel threatened, they're quick to attack. An autopsy showed Hajos suffered from more than a dozen cuts all over his body, including a severed artery in his arm. Despite the efforts of paramedics called to the scene to stop the bleeding, there was nothing they could do. Coming across a cassowary is rare, but if you do, maintain a safe distance. If one is coming towards you, slowly back away. Never, and I mean never, take your eyes off of it. If it does attack, grab anything you can to create a barricade. a backpack, a tree branch, whatever you can to avoid getting sliced up. Our final creature is one of the smallest on our list, but that doesn't mean it's not dangerous.
Within an hour, JP was in intensive care, his entire body paralysed.
I can remember them putting in every single needle into my arm. I could feel it, but I just wasn't able to communicate.
In February 2025, 43-year-old JP Kalman took his 2 young kids to Balmoral Beach in Sydney. While in the ocean, he stepped on a shell. When he picked it up, Kalman noticed a blue-ringed octopus wrapped around his knuckle. The blue-ringed octopus is capable of releasing tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin 1,200 times more potent than cyanide. Not only that, it's also venomous. Have I mentioned there's no anti-venom available? No matter what, you'll want to get to a hospital within 20 minutes, as symptoms can start to appear that quickly. In some instances, it might take up to a full day, so don't go thinking you've dodged a toxic bullet if you feel fine after a few hours. Its head can be as small as a marble, making these deadly sea monsters hard to spot. And when you are injected with their venom, you likely won't know until the symptoms kick in, which can include paralysis, headaches, sweating, and skin discoloration from a lack of oxygen. JP started to Google symptoms despite feeling fine. Then his thumb went numb, so he called his ex-wife Courtney to let her know he couldn't pick up the kids. Out of precaution, JP was going to take the bus to the hospital, a trip that would have taken over an hour. That is until Courtney called him back, telling JP she was going to take him to the hospital. When he got to the hospital, he was completely paralyzed and unable to speak. He was put into a coma for 20 hours and intubated. After waking up, he had 2 more stints of paralysis at the hospital.
For me, that was it. It was, life's over. Life is completely over. I'm never going to see my kids again.
After spending 2 days there, he was released thinking his nightmare was over. But just a day later, JP collapsed again while at a grocery store and needed to be readmitted. After another few days under medical supervision, he was finally discharged. Well, if this video doesn't make you want to visit Australia, I don't know what will. All jokes aside, Australia seems like a beautiful place to live or visit, so long as you're respectful of the wildlife and aware of your surroundings all the time. And for time's sake, we couldn't even cover every animal you need to worry about. There's still the stonefish, the cone snail, the redback spider, the list goes on and on. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like a part 2 or if there's another country you'd like us to cover. For now, check out our deadliest snakes tier list. There are plenty of Australian species in there. We'll see you next time on another episode of How to Survive.